Now to a story you'll see only on 4. The Department of Health continues to investigate how and why a male resident of Emerald South Nursing Home beat to death a woman patient who had mistakenly wandered into his room. Ruth Murray would have turned 83 years old in just a few weeks. Medical records obtained exclusively by News 4 reveal staff at the poorly rated facility knew the man had been violent before. Tonight, News 4's Dave Graber's digging deeper into the troubled nursing home. Dave?
Well, Don, when Ruth Murray was sent to Emerald South Nursing Home, the intention was for the 82-year-old to live out her days in peace. Instead, she met a violent end at the hands of another resident of the nursing home, a man her age with a history of aggression, who, according to records, required 24-hour supervision. Now, you will see those records, the man's medical history from when he was transferred from ECMC to Emerald South. They explain in detail multiple incidents leading up to the morning of August 26th, when nursing home staff walked into a room on the 3rd floor to find Ruth Murray's attacker on his bed, screaming, "Get out of my room," and Ruth Murray lying lifeless on the ground before him.
And I said, "I'll see you on the weekend," because I was bringing my son back. And that was Thursday. That was August 25th was the last time I saw my mom.
Carol Kushnai wants to remember her mother, Ruth Murray, like this. Surrounded by family, hair done up in celebration, serene. Instead, the lasting image that's burned into her soul, but far too graphic for television, is her mother clinging to life, a swollen puddle of red and blue against a white hospital pillow, her frail bones twisted and broken, the results of a beating by another resident in the dementia unit here at Emerald South.
I saw her. I screamed. I fell against the wall, and I went down. The nurses picked me up because she was so unrecognizable. She was beaten. She was beaten to you couldn't even recognize her.
Police reports state Murray wandered into the wrong room, an innocent but common mistake that cost the 82-year-old her life. Medical records of Murray's attacker provided to News 4 show Emerald staff was aware of the man's violent tendencies, and they raised questions about whether anything was done to prevent the brutal beating. News 4 is not naming Murray's attacker because he has not been charged with a crime.
How can something like that happen? How can somebody be put into a dementia unit, an Alzheimer's unit, with that kind of aggressive behavior and not be monitored, supervised?
The man's medical records reveal a recent history of outbursts, both verbal and physical, but they reveal even more about what Emerald South staff knew about their newest resident. Those records begin on August 18th, when Murray's attacker is discharged from ECMC to Emerald South. 12 days after that, and 4 days after Murray was beaten, nursing home staff went back, adding a psychological evaluation from ECMC revealed he cannot live alone and requires 24-hour supervision. Records state he becomes confused and agitated when trying to be oriented, and that he has a history of delusional behaviors. At 6 p.m. on August 23rd, records show he's upset because another resident wanders into his room. He continues to refuse all hands-on care. Just 3 hours later, this time Murray's attacker wanders into another resident's room. The resident was lying in his bed, and staff found Murray's attacker dragging him to the ground. After removing him from the wrong room, the staff nurse notes that he returned agitated and attempted to yet again go after that resident. He was slamming the bathroom door and slamming drawers, stating that he was looking for his wheelchair. The on-call supervisor and other nurses are made aware of the incident, and the man's power of attorney is notified. A late entry written up on August 30th, 7 days later and 4 days after the fatal beating of Ruth Murray, the writer notes the man had dragged the resident fully out of bed, that his head was resting on the floor. The victim was not injured, according to records. Murray's attacker skipped breakfast on the morning of August 26th. A nurse writes that she found him sitting on his bed, yelling, "Get this man out of my room," while another staffer attended to Ruth Murray, who was lying on the ground. Records show once Murray's attacker was informed the victim was indeed a woman, he told the staff, quote, "I'm sorry, I didn't know. I'm sorry." Meanwhile, Ruth Murray lay sedated in ECMC's intensive care unit. Her family gathered around her.
"Tell her that it's okay." And she said, "Let's sing." And we all sang Amazing Grace. And we told her it was okay. We were sorry this happened to you. This should have never happened. This wasn't the way that you were supposed to go, and we're so sorry.
Living conditions in Emerald South are abysmal, according to former and current employees and families of current and former residents. A last resort.
It's a heartbreaking anytime you have to leave them in that facility. I mean, if I could take her home, I would.
That's the same experience for many who reached out to News 4 in the wake of the August 26 beating, including Heidi Porter, whose great aunt, as she puts it, escaped Emerald South just this month for a higher-rated facility.
The first thing was always the smell. There was always a real strong, pungent smell. It was dirty, extremely dirty. I hated leaving her, and she would often, every time I'd leave, she would say, "Don't leave me here." There's no happiness at all, I can tell you that. It's not a happy place.
Patient happiness isn't a measurement conducted by the State Department of Health inspectors during 9 reviews at the nursing home since August of 2012. But there are pages and pages of other ways the facility repeatedly falls below state and federal standards, leading to a 1-star rating or much below average.
I feel bad for the other people who have to live out their lives there.
Or, in the case of Ruth Murray, die there.
It hurts me because this could have been prevented. This incident couldn't have happened if somebody was doing their job, if they were supervising this man who they already knew was aggressive. It's like a shock. It's like a nightmare. It's like this wasn't supposed to happen. Mom didn't go to the nursing home to get beat to death.
Now, New York's Department of Health released a statement this morning that's highly critical of Emerald South. In that particular statement, they say because of the seriousness of the incident that happened on August 26th, the state cited Emerald South for 4 deficiencies, including one at harm level, because they said the facility failed to provide adequate supervision to prevent accidents and ensure resident safety. They go on to say that Emerald South submitted a plan of correction earlier this week, in fact, and that plan was rejected. The DOH says they'll continue to monitor the facility and take more serious enforcement action if it's necessary. Meanwhile, Emerald South released a statement of its own, although they said nothing about the beating of Ruth Murray or the state's new report that they released to us. Instead, they said, quote, "We take the confidentiality of our residents and their private medical records very seriously. It is very unfortunate that someone released the medical records of one of our residents and possibly violated federal law. For anyone to violate the privacy of someone who is unable to defend himself is unconscionable. We continue to fully cooperate with the investigation into this unfortunate incident."
That's a poor statement from the nursing home. This is beyond a tragedy. We've gotten a lot of response to this story. You know that.
Yeah, we really have, and it has started ever since this incident happened and when my reporting began in late August. People are calling from all over the place, and it's no wonder. This is something that I've talked with people about a lot, and it has a very wide impact, and here's why. We all have to get older. We all will be eventually making the decision for either ourselves or perhaps for our loved ones, our parents or others in our family, to place them in a facility. It is our job as journalists to try to provide this service to the community, to show people that there are situations out there. You have to be informed. You have to do your research. And again, because this has such a wide impact, we felt it important to bring that to the community.
Well, you did. Good job.
Thank you.
Thank you.